If you're in menopause or perimenopause and struggling to lose weight, no matter what you try, I totally get it. A few years ago, I was gaining weight around my belly. My energy was really low. It was just really crashing. And the things that used to work before, such as eating less, cutting carbs, or just doing more cardio, suddenly just stopped working. And if that sounds like you, I want you to know this. Your body isn't broken. Your metabolism isn't broken. Your approach just needs to change. Hi, I'm Zita, a fitness and nutrition coach. And with my partner, Terry, a neuropsychology and body image coach, we help men and women over 40 to escape diet prison, sugar addiction, and binge eating, rebuild confidence, and finally, sustainably lose fat using neuroscience, nutrition, and movement. In short, our 3-step fat loss reset pathway. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through the exact steps that helped me lose 17 pounds during menopause without starving, without killing myself in the gym, and without giving up foods I love. If you're ready for a real, honest, science-backed guide, make sure you like the video and subscribe. This will save you years of frustration. So first, let's look into what finally changed for me. When I first started to gaining weight during menopause, I reacted the same way most women do. I cut my calories extremely low. I increased my cardio. I was doing like crazy sessions. I was running, I was doing these combat classes and God knows what else. I tried various cookie cutter workout programs. I did ab workouts nearly every single day, hoping to lose belly fat. And I tell you what, none of them worked. In fact, it made things actually worse. I was doing even yoga, lots of body weight workouts, and still the scale wouldn't budge. I never had that issue before. My energy was really down, my sleep was disrupted, and my mood was it's just unpredictable. I think you know what I'm talking about. So why do we all experience similar effects? Menopause isn't just about your period stopping. It's a neuroendocrine shift that affects nearly every system in your body, from how your brain regulates hunger and stress to how your cells store fat and build muscle. When estrogen declines, especially estradiol, the most metabolically active form of estrogen, your insulin sensitivity drops. So this means your body becomes less efficient. So menopause isn't just about your period stopping. It's a neuroscience shift that affects nearly every system in your body, from how your brain regulates hunger and stress to how your cells store fat and build muscle. When estrogen declines, especially estradiol, the most metabolically active form of estrogen, your insulin sensitivity drops. This means your body becomes less efficient at using carbohydrates for fuel and more prone to storing fat, especially visceral fat around your midsection. So at the same time, cortisol, which is your stress hormone, tends to rise. One study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism shows that menopausal women have heightened HPA axis activity, which is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, meaning the stress response is amplified. So when we talk about stress and hormones, there's one system at the center of it all, the HPA axis. So the HPA axis is your body's main way of responding to stress. It consists of 3 organs that each release hormones that eventually raise cortisol levels in your body. So the hypothalamus is the control center in your brain. It sends a signal to the pituitary gland, which acts like a middle manager. Then the pituitary tells your adrenal glands, which sits just on top of your kidneys, to release cortisol, so your main stress hormone. But what the problem is that in midlife, especially during perimenopause and menopause, this system gets just thrown off because of the hormonal changes. So the HPA axis becomes less resilient, meaning your body might pump out more cortisol and stay in that stressed state longer. And high cortisol over time, that is just linked to belly fat, poor sleep, sugar cravings, low energy, and even muscle loss, especially in the absence of targeted personalized strength training. That's why in our coaching, we don't just focus on workouts and food. We also help calm the nervous system and support healthy cortisol regulation using neuropsychology informed tools so we can rewire stress responses and build emotional resilience from the inside out. If your HPA axis is dysregulated, fat loss becomes a losing battle. And cortisol is well known to promote abdominal fat storage, especially when combined with sleep disruption or undereating. So now let's look at another study that examined the effects of experimental sleep fragmentation and estradiol suppression, a model of menopause, on cortisol levels in healthy young women. So this was a really interesting study, and it was published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism. And they found that even mild sleep fragmentation, just waking up more throughout the night, caused bedtime cortisol to rise by 27%. At the same time, it slashed the cortisol awakening response by nearly 57%. So that means your body starts and ends the day more stressed and less able to recover. And get this, for every extra hour you stay awake during the night, your stress hormones spike even more, making fat loss harder and your cravings stronger. Is there any good news here, Zita? Yes, there is. But researchers concluded this isn't just random, it's a modifiable pathway. That means with the right tools to support sleep and nervous system health, you can rebalance your hormones and start seeing results, even in midlife. So if you've been dieting harder, training more, and getting just fewer results, there's a reason. What finally changed for me was this. And this is what I wish someone had told me sooner. How to calculate my maintenance calories, and most importantly, how to reach them. Most women skip this step, but without it, you're either overeating or most likely undereating. And what I mean by that is both of which can sabotage fat loss and mess with your hormones. The majority of our clients generally undereat, but overeat processed foods packed with sugar and fat. So I track my food, monitored not only my weight, but other data points like measurements and weekly progress photos. Number two, I stopped blaming myself. I wasn't lazy, I was just out of sync completely with my biology. I wasn't eating enough protein, I was doing too much cardio that spiked my cortisol, and I was sleeping poorly. I woke up so many times, which totally disrupted my hunger hormones. I was also not doing appropriate strength training. I thought I was, but I actually wasn't. I was doing strength training. I followed some like a cookie cutter strength workout training. So I thought I was doing well, but however, that was not developed for me. And it was mainly a body weight workout. And you ladies want to lift heavy, not 2-3 kilo pink dumbbells, but heavy iron. You need to do that in order to build muscle, bones, and prevent bone loss. Once I shifted to a system that worked with my body, things started to click pretty much immediately. I ditched the fads and binge eating, which was a result of restricting foods, and focused on science. So most women in midlife are facing the same issues: losing muscle, struggling to sleep, emotional eating, and poor body image. But those are symptoms of deeper imbalances, not personal failures. So when I focused on strength training, fueling properly, managing stress, and restoring sleep, the fat started to coming off. And my energy, my strength, and confidence came back stronger than ever. And I'm not joking. I never felt so good in my whole life, and I never looked so good in my whole life. So step one is I stopped undereating. For years, actually for the majority of my life, I thought eating less was the answer. That's how you lost weight. But during menopause, undereating increases cortisol and slows your metabolism, especially if you're constantly stressed. According to the British Menopause Society, weight gain is extremely common during perimenopause and menopause. At least 50% of women experience it. Large studies show that women typically gain around 1 to 1.5 kilo per year, which is like 3 pounds, during the transition, often adding up to 7 to 10 kilos, so 15 to 22 pounds by the time menopause begins. The weight doesn't just increase, it shifts. As I mentioned earlier, visceral fat, the deeper, more stubborn abdominal fat that's around your organs, almost doubles, while muscle mass naturally declines, which slows your metabolism even further. The first thing I did, I started eating more, but eating smarter. I focused on 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal, and just to hit my daily protein target for sure, including high fiber vegetables in my meals. I went for whole foods and just ditched the processed foods, which I thought were convenient at a time. And if you have similar thoughts, I promise you will find so much more joy and fulfillment in the foods you make for yourself. You know what's in the meals you make for yourself. It is made with love and it's seasoned the way you like it. So quitting high sugar foods, you will taste food again and notice how the flavors come back and everything will feel more delicious, I promise. I also ate enough calories to support my workouts and my hormones. I created the healthy version of my favorite sweets, treats, and savory meals. And the craziest part, once I fueled my body properly, the weight finally started coming off. I also wanted to build muscle, and it's possible to do so by losing fat during menopause. So I switched from cardio to strength training. I used to think fat loss meant endless cardio and calorie burn, but studies show that during and after menopause, the body's ability to build muscle and its metabolic rate change. A drop in estrogen is strongly linked to increased visceral fat and decreased lean mass. That means training muscle becomes your most effective strategy. Research from Harvard supports that for older adults, combining resistance training with higher protein intake delivers the biggest gains in muscle mass and metabolism. So I committed to strength training 4 or 5 times a week, compound lifts, progressive loading, and full body focus. The result were more energy, visible body shape changes, and I finally started losing that persistent belly fat that cardio alone couldn't touch. So the truth is, muscle is the engine that drives your metabolism. And step 3, I took control of my stress. This was the game changer most women ignore. Cortisol can become your biggest enemy. High cortisol equals more belly fat, more cravings, worse sleep, and slower metabolism. So here's what I implemented as foundational habits. A 10-minute walk each day to activate recovery mode and move gently. 2 minutes of deep breathing at night, switching off sympathetic drive completely before going to bed. No caffeine after 2 p.m. Consistent sleep schedule, because that just supports better hormone regulation. Because research shows that sleep disruption in menopause impairs glucose regulation and fat loss. And then just coming back to caffeine again, so not having any coffee after 2 p.m. really improves sleep quality and reducing the stress layering. So these weren't big, flashy changes, but together they created the nervous system environment my body needed to release fat. So these tiny changes helped me lose more weight than any diet ever had. Step number 4, I built a simple, sustainable meal plan. I didn't cut out carbs. I didn't ban chocolate. No way. I didn't do keto or any of these fad diets. Instead, I followed what I now teach all our clients: a balanced plate at every meal. Protein, veggies, fiber, healthy fats, and carbs, of course, slow digesting carbs. So here's an example of what I eat. Breakfast, I always have Greek yogurt with berries, nuts, and sweeten it with some stevia. Lunch, I normally have omelette with mixed salad, with olive oil and the bagel. I toast that, I love that. And for dinner, it's either chicken, whatever kind of fish or So for dinner, I would normally have some kind of lean meat, whether it's salmon or chicken or turkey, whatever, roasted veg and sweet potato or rice. So I vary it. So for snacks, I would normally have fruit, oatmeal with berries and protein powder, or cream of rice with berries and protein powder, and then some granola or chocolate sauce, homemade cookies like oat cookies, or other protein focused cakes, bars, or pancakes, whatever I make. Nothing extreme, nothing crazy, just consistency. So step number 5, I stopped chasing perfection. And this one might surprise you because I didn't lose 17 pounds by being perfect. And as much as I love to be, it's a myth, okay? So there's no such a thing as perfect. I lost it. I lost the excess fat by being consistent enough. I showed up on the days I didn't feel motivated. I followed my plan even when progress was slow. And I stopped giving up after one bad meal or a stressful week. But this wasn't just a mindset shift. It was a nervous system reset. So neuropsychology goes a lot deeper. Mindset is the surface level, and then we go deep down, dive into the root cause of the issues. So when we are constantly dieting, stressed, or feeling like we are failing, the brain begins wiring those experiences into our identity. And over time, your default becomes, I've tried everything and nothing works for me. And that's not just a belief, that's your neurobiology doing its job. And here is something most people don't realize. This isn't just about discipline. There is neuroscience behind it. Every time you say, I'll go to the gym tomorrow, or I'll meal prep this week, and then you just don't follow through, your brain stores that as a prediction error. And if you do it often enough, and your brain starts updating your identity to, I don't follow through, I can trust myself, it never works for me, I always fall off, and so on and so on. And this isn't a lack of willpower. It's your brain protecting you by lowering expectations to avoid disappointment. So in psychology, it's called self-efficacy erosion. And it directly affects motivation, consistency, and even your dopamine response. And you can change this, by the way. That's the good news. Your brain is plastic, so there is brain plasticity. That's real. You can rewire it by keeping micro promises. So every time you keep a small promise, even something as, I'm gonna do a 5-minute walk, or I'm just gonna prep one meal just right now, you rebuild the identity of someone who follows through. And that's how confidence is formed, not from big wins, but from repeated micro commitments. So what changed for me was learning how to work with my brain, not against it. I started reinforcing tiny daily wins, calming my stress response, and focusing on structure over intensity. And that's what helped me rewire old patterns, not just physically, but emotionally. So if you're trying to lose weight during menopause or perimenopause, please remember this. Your body doesn't respond to extremes, it responds to the right strategy, done consistently. Eat enough to feel safe. Train smart, not more. Manage your stress because your brain drives your body. And don't aim for perfect, aim for regulated and repeatable. If you'd like us to build a personalized plan tailored to your body, your hormones, and your lifestyle, not a cookie cutter thing, you can book a Vitality 360 scan using the link below. It is your shortcut to results you've been wanting to achieve for years. Your journey doesn't have to be confusing or exhausting, and you shouldn't be guessing what works and what doesn't. We've done all that for you. You don't have to do it alone. Next, I want you to check out this video in which I explain what I eat during menopause to burn fat.